everybody back from international break kind of safe and sound. Alfie and Ollie and Josh all back and raring to go, I take it.
Yeah, Josh was back with us on Monday morning. He'd only had a one-game camp with the Welsh under-21, so he's back on Monday morning, and Alfie and Ollie have arrived back this morning, having had obviously 2 England games playing on Tuesday night.
Yeah, so everybody kind of back and raring to go, and we've just been talking to Nathan about it's odd to have an international break. I suppose now you've worked out a pattern, have you, as to how to look after the players when they're not here and the ones who come back. Is it becoming a bit more commonplace for you now?
It's something I've experienced before anyway, and trying to find the best way to work the players who need working and give some recovery time to others. So we've managed to find a balance, I think, which works, and given there's some time with the families away from this place and away from each other and away from us is also a good thing, both mentally and physically, but you've also got to keep on top of yourself when you're away from here. So the lads have had a couple of things to do while they've been off, home sessions which they have to then send back into the medical department, etc. So yeah, they've kept on top of themselves, and we've been working away for our match prep since Monday.
A lot of people will be interested to know where you are with James Wilson and Conor Grant. Obviously they've had scandals on injuries. What can you say about them and where their fitness is?
Yeah, so starting with Conor first, obviously he had an incident in the first half at Portsmouth, so unfortunately we're probably looking at 8 weeks for Conor since the point of the injury, a calf, which is frustrating for us because we'd obviously taken our time. We'd tried to build him up. He'd done the 290 minutes the previous week and then came on the second half at Bristol Rovers. So we're looking at every eventuality, everything that we could have controlled with any injuries, anything that we've missed, etc, etc. So that's Conor, and it's a similar unfortunate diagnosis with Willow as well in terms of timescale. Different part of the calf, but yeah, we've had 3 calf injuries now in the last 10 days, 2 weeks with Alex, Conor and James. So it's something that we've looked at as staff and maybe some of the reasons why and could we have done anything different. So yeah, it's unfortunate for all those 3 guys.
Are they like freak injuries, or have you identified something that has led to that? Being as they're all the same.
No, we've obviously since pre-season and rotating selection and trying to keep on top of and keep players safe. Obviously some players have had more injury history than others, but in terms of the injuries we had, and young Jack Shark as well, he had a calf, but he wasn't as bad. So it hasn't just been to a more senior player. We've had a young player, we've had players who've played a lot of minutes and players who haven't played many minutes. So there's not been a real trend, but there's things that we have discussed, possible reasons why, and can we learn from that, and can we alter what we're doing going forward. But so for those 3 players now, it's going to be certainly a medium-term injury in terms of time scale and when they return for selection.
It sod's law, like I think we said after the Newcastle game. It's the 2 areas of the pitch up front and on the left where you probably were, I won't say thin, but you were needing reinforcements. Really, it's typical. It's those 2 areas of the pitch, really.
Yeah, listen, unfortunately we haven't got a crystal ball about where we're going to pick up an injury, but we've got players in the squad who can now come in and get an opportunity and step in and go and grab the opportunity. Injuries are unfortunately part of the game. Everyone talks about them. You generally get a spike this time of year. Looking at injury history, more game time, so you can do all the planning in the world and you can get your training program as precise as you possibly can and look at data, etc, etc. Some things that are unfortunately slightly out of your control as well.
With the other 2, with the people we're obviously interested in, Uche Ikpeazu, Ryan Loft as well. Back on the grass, I think you said Ryan last week, didn't you? Where are he and Uche both up to now? Can we expect to see him anytime soon?
Yeah, Ryan and Uche joined in training with the main group on Monday for the first time, so obviously they're progressing. Probably one slightly ahead of another one, but it's important for both players having, obviously Ryan having the injury when he first came here, and Uche starting really from fresh, although he's been doing stuff away from a professional football club. It's totally different training. So yeah, we're building both players up, and so that they've now joined back in with the main group.
When you look at that, like you say, it's about managing players, isn't it, I suppose, and you can't, even though people might want to say, right, you need to set forward, you've got to put him in, you've got to be really careful, because if you put him in and he breaks down, it might be another few weeks. So how difficult is that balance to strike between the need to have them out there and the need to protect them, maybe, against what they might even want to do?
I think it's certainly, excuse me, a three-way decision in terms of me, the medical team and the player talking, collaborating, looking at everything that we know as a staff and what the player's thinking. The player, certainly as you get to become a more senior player, you know your body, you know how you're feeling, you know what is a twinge, what's maybe just DOMS, etc, etc. So yeah, it's also about me making a decision what's best for the player long term. It can't be about, unfortunately, just about the next game and saying, oh, we might be quite light in that position, let's risk him and fingers crossed and hope he comes through the game. I've got to make calculated decisions based on the long term for both the player and the football club.
Speaking more broadly, we talked about run form you've been on before, but we just talked about Nathan about getting back to basics maybe in games. Is that kind of the main priority and the key to get back to against Stevenage on Saturday, just to try and, if you like, steady the ship, for want of a better phrase?
Well, we haven't tried to go away from the basics of the game. The basics of the game will never change. You've got to run, you've got to win duels, you've got to challenge, you've got to sweat, and I think we've been doing those things, but there's some things that we haven't been quite getting right, and I think they're at both ends of the pitch, where games are both won and lost. And we're pleased with lots of things we're doing. We're a group who've come together start of July, and we're trying to progress in a different way to what the football club's worked before. Certainly with the ball, and there's going to be bumps in the road. But I'm pleased with how we're getting from one box to another. But for us to win games and score goals, we have to be more effective in the final third, but without a shadow of a doubt. And we're missing too many opportunities with the quality of the final pass, the final cross. And the execution of a finish sometimes. Now we had ample opportunities at Portsmouth to be well in front in that game at half time, and we didn't take them. And then it becomes then about defending your own box and using the Portsmouth game as an example, a team who are 20 odd games unbeaten, who are flying at home, who had not really had any opportunity in the first half. And again, you look at the comments from the players and their staff after the game, they were delighted to be going in at half-time 0-0, but because we hadn't taken advantage of the situations we created and the things we spoke about pre-game. So we have to become more effective, certainly, in the box, whether that's a shot, a cross, a through ball, and just taking that little bit more care and being more ruthless with it.
Is it as simple as just saying you need a 15-20 goal striker? Is it as simple as that, or is it more about the way the team plays and how they incorporate a centre forward or whoever's up there? Well,
the centre forward has to fit into the way we play, and is another part of the jigsaw, so to speak, and the whole puzzle has to come together. And that's what I'm saying. From where we're trying to build up through the phases and through the thirds of the pitch, we're doing a hell of a lot of things right. But to score a goal, you have to then become effective in around the penalty area. And at this moment in time, we haven't been enough. We've created enough opportunities to be scoring and winning games like we were before the first international break. We were winning games by the odd goal then. And in my opinion, since the international break, our performances up until a certain part of the pitch have improved. Now we have to keep working away. We have to keep looking at solutions to how we want to play, how the opposition want to press us. We have to stop the opposition, obviously, as well, and what they want to do. And Saturday will become a different challenge for our group in terms of what Stevenage is trying to do. But we have to focus on us and how do we keep getting better.
Lastly, been reported this week, Ada Tiger Badahan, US player who's been training with you. What, if anything, can you say about that?
Yeah, he's been training with us now. On and off for a while. It is something that we're interested in taking further, but nothing official yet.
I've just got a couple more names on the injuries. Dan Jones, Andy, what can you tell us about him?
Yeah, unfortunately, probably the same time scale as the other guys. Came back obviously after the illness, where he'd been in hospital for a week or so, and then again built him back up. Played in the game against Sutton. But felt his glute in a couple of days after the game, and he's now undergoing a treatment to hopefully eradicate that problem and get him back up to speed as soon as possible. But when that will be, unfortunately, we're not quite sure.
Yeah, so but it might be a couple of months, as with the others. So
Hopefully not as long as a couple of months, hopefully,
Okay.
but again,
Yeah.
it's how quick it progresses for it. It's not, unfortunately, a muscle injury
Yeah.
in terms of a rupture of a calf, etc. So we're going down a different route in terms of treatment and see if that can have a more of a longer term effect.
And Tom Conlon, how's he progressing?
Yeah, training was back now. He was involved in a bounce game on the same day as we played Newcastle. So yeah, his fitness is improving.
Okay. One thing you mentioned to Phil though was about rotating players, and obviously you've been able to do that well and progress in the cup
Yeah.
and the trophy. I just wondered though, with coming up, you've got an FA Cup game, this big game at Mansfield, and a couple of league games all in the space of a fortnight. Can you still rotate, or are you under pressure to pick, a stronger 11? Maybe stronger 11's an unfair way of putting it, but the same 11, for those games.
I have to make decisions based on what I know, and sometimes I know more than others, obviously because I see everything what's happening here every single day. So I'm trying to utilise the players to optimise our performance and look at us and our strengths and what we're trying to do, but also look at the opposition and potential weaknesses within their setup and their players, and that's what I'll continue to do. Unfortunately, when you pick up a few injuries, it limits the choice, certainly in some positions. But again, we'll keep talking, we'll keep looking at us and how we're looking to progress.